Possibly the most interesting team in the NFL right now, in my opinion, resides in the state of Florida. And I'm not talking about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, even though they're probably the best team in the NFC. The number one team over the past 5 weeks in terms of interestingness, if that is a word, is the Miami Dolphins. And a lot of it has to do with the quarterback situation. A lot of it has to do with the fact that they've won 5 games in a row after losing 7 games in a row. And right now they're sitting at a spot where they could either go all in and try to make this playoff run or tank out the rest of the season and try to get a new quarterback. Now, if you ask me, I think Tua should be the guy. You don't go through a 2-year stretch where you tank away your seasons, try to get a guy in Tua Tagovailoa, and just throw him away before. I mean, he never really has had a chance in Miami. You're talking about a guy who, when he was drafted to the Miami Dolphins, he was coming off a season-ending hip injury, as well as an ankle injury, I believe, when he was with the Alabama Crimson Tide. And then once he got to Miami, all that's happened is there's been rumors swirling around about the Miami Dolphins trading for Deshaun Watson. All that's happened is, Miami has not had an offensive line or running game to complement Tua Tagovailoa. And anytime Tua makes any sort of mistake, we have not held him to the same kind of standard of other rookie quarterbacks. We've held him to the standard of something like he is a 5th or 6th year guy where he shouldn't be making certain mistakes. Tua Tagovailoa is a 23-year-old guy, 24-year-old quarterback who is going to make mistakes. And at this point in his career, he should be treated as such, not as a guy who is in his 5th or 6th year looking to lead a team to a Super Bowl. And I think over the past 3 weeks, Tua Tagovailoa has proved that he can be the winning quarterback for the Miami Dolphins. You look at the last 3 weeks for the Dolphins, all 3 of them wins in which Tua Tagovailoa started in those games, as well as a week before in which he came in for Jacoby Brissett in that Week 10 matchup against the Baltimore Ravens, where they basically stole the game, like I said, in the fourth quarter. You look at the last 3 starts for Tua, though, he is 81, 87, and 73% completion percentage, throwing for 273, 230, and 244 yards, respectively. All while only having 1 interception in the last 4 weeks, all while throwing for 5 touchdowns and only being sacked 4 times in the last 3 weeks. And just looking at the season for Tua Tagovailoa, really in general, you can't necessarily say any certain game is a bad game for Tua. The worst quarterback rating that he has had in a start this season was against the Buffalo Bills. He had a passer rating of 58.2. But if you compare that to the other games that he started and played all the way through, you look at 79.6 against New England, in which they won. You look at 95.1 against Jacksonville, 104 against Baltimore, 109 against New York, 108 against Carolina, 104 against the Giants. Tua is proving that he can be the guy for the Miami Dolphins. And now that the trade deadline has passed, it seems like Miami is actually putting their full faith behind him and actually trying to win with him, which, at this point, they're really messing with Tua's progression and messing with Tua's probably confidence as well. But he has not wavered. He has been solidly one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC that just isn't being talked about. This is all while the Miami Dolphins' number 1 running back, Myles Gaskin, is averaging 3.4 yards per carry. Salvin Ahmed, the number 2 running back for the team, is averaging 2.8 yards. This is all while, like I said, rumors swirling around the trade deadline of Tua Tagovailoa being sent to Houston, or just in general, Deshaun Watson coming to Miami to take Tua's job. And I wouldn't necessarily say that all the guys around Tua are necessarily, I would say that it's kind of hard for a lot of the guys to be fully behind Tua when they hear the rumors of Deshaun Watson coming to the team. Especially you look at someone like Will Fuller. I would assume that he pretty much came to Miami to play with Deshaun Watson once he actually got traded there. Now, I don't know why that would affect things, because Will Fuller has played in 2 games all season and has been one of the most inconsistent players ever since coming into the NFL, but that is a storyline that has happened. Now, not only has Tua Tagovailoa been one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC that hasn't been talked about over the past few weeks, the defense of the Miami Dolphins has probably been one of the best, not only all year for Miami in the NFL, but if you're looking at what the defense has done over the past 4 weeks, or 5 weeks, I guess, You're looking at a team who allows less than 200 yards passing in all but 2 games. The only 2 games that went over 200 were against Baltimore and New York. You're looking at a team that forces a lot of turnovers. Right now, they're in a 5-game stretch of forcing a turnover in every single game, and that's 11 turnovers in 5 games. That is something that not only I'm sure Brian Flores loves, I'm not only sure that the Miami Dolphins fan base loves, but I'm sure that the front office for Miami is now seeing that if this defense does this, if Tua Tagovailoa plays how he is playing, all they need to do is figure out this running game, which they have a lot of weapons on their team that they could move for offensive linemen, that they could move for running backs, that they could move for something in order to figure that out. That's obviously not going to happen right now, but in the future, I'm sure it'll happen. Now let's go ahead and talk about what the rest of the season looks like for the Miami Dolphins. Like I said, they're riding a 5-game win streak right now. They just went into their bye week this week, so they're not going to have a game this week. They got the week off. They get to prepare for the Jets, the Saints, the Titans, and the Patriots. 2 of those games are going to be really, really tough. The game in Tennessee and the game against New England obviously are going to be really tough games. Here's how Miami could really luck out. I would think that the New York Jets should be a win for this Miami team. They're going to be playing at home. They're going to be playing, like I said, off of a bye week. New York is not a good team. And Zach Wilson is a struggling rookie quarterback. That is all the recipe that you need to say that New York should win that game. Or to say Miami should win that game over New York. Next up, you go to New Orleans. New Orleans still doesn't have their own quarterback issues solved. And we saw what Taysom Hill did in his game where he started. He just didn't look good. And I don't really think Trevor Siemian would be able to do any different for New Orleans. Then you go to Tennessee. Okay, you probably lose in Tennessee. But if you win that game, that's even better. The last game of New England is really, really important because if you go into that game, let's say they beat New York, they beat the Saints, and they lose to Tennessee. You're looking at a team that's 8-8, looking at a really big game with the New England Patriots. New England winning this last game against Buffalo and possibly winning again in a couple weeks when they play them, they could have the number 1 seed locked up by week 17, I believe. So if that is the case, there is a really good chance that they rest some of their starters, especially on the defensive end of the football, against the Miami Dolphins. I would think Bill Belichick would think about doing that. I would think he probably still starts Mac Jones because he's a rookie quarterback. There's not a lot you really have to worry about. If you really are worried about it, then run the ball 40 times again like you did last week. The rest of this season really looks up for the Miami Dolphins. Obviously, they have the potential to finish 10-7. I think they're probably going to finish 9-8. Either way, there is a really, really good chance that this Miami Dolphins team makes the playoffs. And, you know, when you look at this team where they were at week 8 when they were 1-7, there were not a lot of high hopes for this team. However, right now, this team is looking really good. Tua looks like the guy in Miami. The defense is really stepping up behind him. And if they somehow could figure out a running game by committee over these next few weeks, then I would honestly say look out if you're playing the Miami Dolphins in the playoffs.